Hey guys. In this video I'm going to explain the first episode of the first season of the series Daredevil. While saving an elderly man from being run over by a truck, 9-year-old Matt Murdock is blinded when hazardous chemicals spill into his eyes. Matt's last vision is of his father Jack, comforting him, even though he lost his sight. His other 4 remaining senses were heightened to superhuman levels. In the present day, Murdock visits Clinton Church to make a confession to Paul Lantom, asking forgiveness for what he is about to do. Later that night, Murdock wears a black vigilante suit and a black mask and stops the trafficking of the kidnapped women by Turk Barrett and the Russian mafia. When Murdock is suffering complications due to his heightened senses, a man named Stick taught him how to manipulate them, not only to be controlled, but to help overcome his blindness. Stick also trained him in martial arts. The next morning, Murdock is awakened by a phone call from Foggy Nelson, who talks about the upcoming meeting with the real estate agency. Nelson talks to Brett Mahoney, an officer with the New York City Police Department, and gave him a box of cigars for his mother as a bribe to get Brett to give him information on potential clients. Nelson and Murdock then meet with Susan Harris to rent an office and start their own law firm. Later, Karen Page wakes up in her apartment near the corpse of Daniel Fisher, holding a bloody knife, which results in her being arrested by the police. Mahoney tells Nelson about it, so he and Murdock arrive at the 15th Precinct police station and introduce themselves as her lawyers. Karen Page tells them that she has no money to pay for the legal services, and although Nelson wanted to leave, Murdock decides to help her regardless since they had no clients at the time. Karen tells Nelson and Murdock that, no matter how the situation looked, she did not kill Daniel Fisher, and Murdock believes in her innocence by listening to her heartbeat. When sitting in the park, Clyde Farnham gets approached by James Wesley and assumes that he came to collect the money he loaned from Don Rigoletto. Wesley informs Farnham that Rigoletto is no longer in business and that his employer has taken over. Wesley shows Farnham a video recording of his daughter Tracy being watched by Rance, who is ready to kill her by Wesley's order. Wesley makes it clear that his employer is not concerned about the loan, but instead wishes to use Farnham's position. Obliging to give in to his threat, Clyde Farnham agrees to do as he says. Discussing Karen's case, Nelson considers making a deal to evade the court hearing and reduce the punishment for Karen, but Murdock is against that. Murdock is adamant that Karen is innocent, although Nelson points out that she was found in a very incriminating position. Murdock, however, notices that, despite the case looking too clear, the police and the DA's office are hesitant on pressing charges, suspecting that the case is more complicated than it seems. Nelson reluctantly agrees to go with Murdock's line of thought, but points out that Karen is not telling the whole truth. That night, Karen gets attacked in her cell by Farnham, who is ordered to kill Karen and make it look by suicide. However, Karen manages to survive and scream for help. Nelson and Murdock meet with Christian Blake and Carl Hoffman and pressure them into releasing Karen in exchange for keeping silence on the attack at her cell. They bring Karen into their office, where she tells Nelson and Murdock how she discovered embezzlement in the financial records of Union Allied Construction and that she told her boss about that. He refused to listen to her, so she talked to Daniel Fisher about it. But the next morning, he was found dead in her apartment. Karen is afraid that people who targeted her and killed Daniel Fisher might come for Nelson and Murdock. But Murdock convinces her to stay in his apartment for the night until they figure something out. Murdock thinks about the case and wonders why the people in charge tried to frame Karen for the first time, not kill her, until she was arrested. Murdock concludes that Karen must have kept the pension file, and her attackers could not kill her without getting it first. Karen lies that all the information was wiped out and she did not get the file. But Murdock already knows the truth. At Union Allied property, Wesley meets with Leland Owlsley, Nobuyoshi Oka, Madame Gao, Vladimir, and Anatoly Ranskahov to discuss their situation. Although his employer is unable to come, Wesley expresses his concern over the trafficking fiasco, and the Ranskahov brothers tell him about the vigilante who liberated the women. Owlsley tried to defuse the situation and points out that the Union Allied situation is attracting an unwanted attention, so it must be handled as soon as possible. Karen sneaks out of Murdock's apartment and returns home, where she collects a flash drive with the Union Allied pension file. But gets ambushed by Rance. He takes the flash drive and prepares to kill Karen. At this point, Murdoch arrives in a black suit and mask. And after a great fight he defeats Rance and takes the flash drive from him. Karen says that going to the police with the evidence is pointless. So the vigilante Murdoch dumps Rance with the flash drive at the New York Bulletin. The paper then publishes the story about the Union Allied embezzlement, which results in a huge scandal and public uproar, as Karen gets cleared from all charges. She thanks Nelson and Murdoch and decides to stay to work in their firm to repay for their help. At night, Murdoch comes to Fogwell's gym, where his father used to attend, and starts training with a punching bag. Wesley speaks to his employer in regards to the Union Allied situation and assures him that the necessary actions will be taken. The employer decides to let Karen go since everything she knew was already in the news, and voices his interest in Nelson and Murdoch. Owlsley clears the money trail left by Union Allied, and both Farnham and Rance get killed, seemingly by suicide. Meanwhile, Gao keeps running her sweatshop for heroin production, and Yoshioka and his men make plans for the certain place in the city they need. The Russian mafia, led by the Ranskahov brothers, attacks a man on the streets and kidnaps his son. Murdoch hears the boy's screams and wears his vigilante suit before rushing in to save him. That's all for this video. When I upload other episodes of the series, I'll put their links in the description. So don't forget to like and subscribe for more upcoming videos like this.